All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 2018 NFL Week 15 post-game analysis show. I am the host, obviously, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. First and foremost, obviously, there's an elephant in the room. There's actually no elephant in the room. If there was an elephant in the room, I would have less of a room and more of an elephant. But nonetheless, we did hit 100K subscribers. I'll probably do a video down the line, acknowledging it. I don't know if I'm going to go do the corny thing and buy a bunch of balloons and then go and do a celebratory post. I'm not really down with doing that. I might just wait for the plaque to come in my butt. By the time the plaque does come in, channel might mess around and be terminated. So we'll see what happens down the line. But nonetheless, what we're talking about is what happened this past weekend in football. Let's jump right into it. First and foremost, the Thursday night football game. Last Thursday, we had the Chargers taking on the Chiefs. AFC West matchup battle for first place. But somehow, the Chiefs were able to still hold on to their first place spot because of the records in the division. You know what's funny about that? If you didn't know, the Chargers happened to win 3 touchdowns from Mike Williams plus the 2-point conversion. They won 29-28. Now, I'll say this. I expected them to go out there and get that W. I expected to see Kansas City fall. You saw the woes of the run game pretty much being non-existent. You had a couple of runs on the ground, but outside of that, they didn't do too much on the ground. It was pretty much the Patrick Mahomes show trying to throw the ball all over the place. But when the defense tightens down, you see sometimes that transcendent talent, that arm strength that he has, it won't be able to pull out the W for them. Now, I'll say this about the Chargers. They showed a lot of resilience. They pretty much abandoned the run game. I was expecting to see more from their backs, but Elker ended up, I don't know if he played or if he got hurt during the game, but you saw a lot of Justin Jackson in the backfield. Outside of that, Keenan Allen left the game as well. So it was a lot of just Mike Williams. They had a couple of passes here and there to Antonio Gates to move the chains. I saw Tyrell Williams with a couple of passes over the middle. There was one in particular where he fumbled. He was able to recover his own fumble. That would have been catastrophic for the Chargers. But it was a lot of stick-to-itiveness from Phillip Rivers, able to keep his team intact to go out there and get the victory. Now, I'll say this, like I was referencing earlier, regarding the Chargers not taking sole possession of first place in their division, because for some apparent reason the divisional wins or the conference wins for the AFC remained with the Chiefs. That's why they still have the leg up on the Chargers. But I do believe Week 17 will determine who goes on and wins that division, because Week 17 is all divisional games. So I believe the Raiders are playing against the Chiefs, and who is the other team in the AFC? The Broncos are playing against the Chargers. So we'll see how things play out. But the Broncos have been eliminated, so obviously they won't really affect where they are in the playoff scheme. Ironically, that's where we're going next, because we're moving on to the Saturday night games. I would address the Texans and the Jets, but we're talking about AFC West, so why don't we just go straight to the Broncos and the Browns? I thought the Broncos would be able to pull off the win. They lost 17-16. I'll say this. On the ground, Philip Lindsay didn't really do as much as I thought I would be able to see. Then again, Vance Joseph didn't have the game plan to go out there and do it. It seemed like this was a terribly coached game. All right, now granted, they didn't have Emmanuel Sanders out there, them trying to throw the ball. You didn't see too much from Case Keenum here and there. Defensively, they were able to get after Baker Mayfield, but actually, no, they didn't even get after Baker Mayfield like that. They had a couple of pressures here and there, but consistently throughout the game, that wasn't the case. It was not the case. And Nick Chubb was able to run whenever he wanted. He had a couple of big runs on the final possession, put the game away and burn clock. So when the Broncos did get the ball back, they were failing to convert. Now, I'll say this, there was a decision where it was fourth and inches, I believe that was the case, and then Vance Joseph decided, hey, let's go for the field goal and trust the defense. I wouldn't have made that decision. What I would have done is went for it on 4th down, because when you go for it, and if you fail, you have their team inside, I believe it was inside the 10, but even if it wasn't inside the 10, it was inside the 15, because I know they were beyond the 15-yard line. So would you rather kick the field goal and try to defend them after doing a kickoff? Let's just say they get a good return. Even if you get the ball on a touchback, they're at the 25. Versus you failing on 4th down, then you have them backed up against their own end zone. I would rather go with that route. Plus, it shows confidence in your team, and the defense will get the they'll get the mental note ready that, hey, if we don't convert on offense, it's on us now. Versus let's play safe, kick a field goal, and then hope the defense stop. I don't like that. I like aggressive coaches, guys who show they have some cojones, gotta have some balls. All right. I'll say this about the Browns: they played a phenomenal game, and they're still in the race to possibly get into the postseason. Nobody expected to see the Browns this late. Remember, I said the Browns would win between 5 and 7 games. You could go back and look at the very first video of the season when I said that was the case. This team is overperforming. Hugh Jackson being gone is doing wonders for Baker Mayfield. He's playing phenomenal football. In fact, that offensive line is blocking as the best offensive line in the league since Hugh been fired, or I believe it was since week 9. Something like that. Baker only been touched, 9 times? It's ridiculous what's going on. The run game's clicking. The pass game is starting to look good. He's cleaning up some of the, wild errant throws. You saw that pass all the way down the field. I can't remember if it was right before halftime or whatever it was, but he threw a bad interception. But outside of those small isolated plays, he played a great game. Jarvis Landry doing what he does, rallying the receiving core. I'm excited for this Browns team, man. They're young. They just got to get some real veteran leadership on both sides of the ball. Offensively, you do have a Jarvis Landry there to galvanize the offense. Defensively, Myles Garrett is coming of age. You still got Jamie Collins, who's over there in the secondary. You got Jabril Peppers, Denzel Ward. Young guys, man. They just need to have that dog. Some veterans come in, show them the ways, and really, get that entire team. Not just, Jarvis on offense, or you got those young guns over there on defense, but they just need to get themselves an attitude. But I love the way Cleveland's culture is changing over there. Phenomenal win for them. As for Denver, they're out of the playoff race. It's unfortunate. I probably see a situation where Vance Joseph's job is, pretty much terminated at the end of the year. If he wins these 2 remaining games, he could mess around and keep his job. I know a lot of Broncos fans want to see him gone. And for the most part, I understand their argument, and I wouldn't be opposed to if he got fired, because he's made a whole lot of bad calls here and there. So sometimes when you can't win the judgment call game as a head coach, it's about time for you to go, buddy. And if he ends up getting fired, hey man, you did it to yourself. It's not like your players did not perform. Now, I'll say this. On to the next game. We got the Texans taking on the Jets. The Jets rallied back into this game. They were able to look as if they were going to win, and then DeAndre Hopkins showed why the dreadlock powers are also mighty in the National Football League. I'll say this. Deshaun Watson played a very good game as well. On the ground, there was virtually no run game from what I remember. I didn't see Alfred Blue break any runs out there. I believe Lamar Miller ended up leaving the game early. I don't know if it was the second quarter or the third quarter, but something was hampering him, whether it was a hamstring, a calf, a foot, a toe, whatever it was. He ended up leaving the game. So you didn't have much production in the run game. Kaimi Fairbairn, their kicker, made a ton of kicks for them. DeAndre Hopkins made a lot of different catches. You had the one big pass, I believe it was to Demaryius Thomas, but outside of that, you didn't really get too much. It was a defensive sort of battle. All right, all of the primetime games for the most part was all defensive battles outside of Sunday Night Football. We'll get to that a little bit later. But, the defense, they took care of business. J.J. Watt was all over the field defensively, showing why he's probably going to get the first team All-Pro. He's already been elected to the Pro Bowl, and we'll be talking about the Pro Bowl a little bit later. I don't think in this particular video, but I'll maybe make a separate video just for the Pro Bowl because the picks were atrocious. But for the Texans, big time when they needed this win, this was going to be a trap game, and indeed it was a trap game because the Jets overperformed, but they couldn't get it done in the end. I'll say this about the Jets though. Defensively, I'm confident in this team. Offensively, I like Sam Darnold. I said after week 1, I'm a big fan of Sam Darnold. He's a gunslinger. So you'll live by the throw, you'll die by the throw. It's very similar to Brett Favre. However, if you get the right picks around him, or I should say the right pieces around him with draft picks, you can really get this offense going.
You no longer have a Bilal Powell who's a dual sort of back. He's pretty much like a baby Matt Forte. Having Matt Forte in New York it groomed, Bilal Powell, because he was already doing a little bit of what he's been doing, but if he can stay healthy, he's a little bit older now. So if they can get somebody who's a versatile back and you get some true receivers out there, a legitimate number one, because Robbie Anderson is up and down. He's hot, then he's cold. Katy Perry on the football field. So if they can get some real pieces around him, they can become, once Brady and Belichick's regime falls down, it'll be Miami and New York jockeying for position. But just off of sheer potential, I believe the Jets can, take a step into the second tier of NFL teams if they draft and pick well. But for this game, they got to ride that L train. Next, moving to Sunday, we have the Cardinals taking on the Falcons. Absolute necrophilia. Cardinals are the worst team in the league, in my opinion. They can't get it done on any phase, offensively or defensively. They can't stop a soul. They can't put up points. A lot of people are going to say, but the Raiders. No. The Cardinals are the worst team in the league. They got that number one slot for that number one pick right now. Offensively for the Falcons, they've been doing their thing all season, even though they've been riddled by injury, pretty much no run game. This particular game, there was a run game because Tevin Coleman was rubbing his nutsack all over the damn Cardinals defense. Julio Jones found his way into the end zone. He left the game in the fourth quarter. I don't think it's anything serious with his injury. I think he ended up coming back in. But for the Falcons, it's a down season. Hopefully they can just finish strong. Julio just passed, was it 1,500 yards? I think he just got to, or 1,400. Whatever the case was. No, he did pass 1,500 yards. I believe if he were to get 250 yards back-to-back weeks, he can possibly try to get 2,000. That's probably not going to happen. But for the Falcons, it was a good win, brings up morale. You guys are out of the postseason as of this past week, so what you gonna do? So I wouldn't say tank to get a higher draft pick. Just close out the season good, because they still have a very good team. They just been riddled with injuries all year. As for the Cardinals, get that number one pick. They tanking for Zion. Next game, we had the Bucs taking on the Ravens in Baltimore. Now, this game in particular, it was 12-20. I thought this was a trap game sort of game, in which it was when it started out. But the feat of Lamar Jackson was able to keep the Ravens in the game. Now, I said before, we'll find out what kind of player Lamar Jackson is now, knowing that Joe Flacco is healthy. So you have the old starting quarterback who's now healthy, and the new guy on the block. Is he going to be looking over his shoulder, worried about if Flacco's going to be getting in if he doesn't have good series? Is John Harbaugh and the organization have confidence in Lamar Jackson? We'll see how things play out. But this particular game, they were able to get it done. For the Bucs, offensively, things were just not clicking as well as I thought they would. You had a couple of good passes here and there to to Mike Evans, but outside of that, offensively, they just couldn't get into the end zone. The Baltimore defense shows why they're constantly top 5. All right, they got it done this particular game. And for the Bucs, what you gonna do, man? You got a high-powered offense, puts up a lot of yards. As for points, not so much. Not so much. They just got a lot of things that got to get fixed. They need a culture change down in Tampa. Because defensively, you got Gerald McCoy who's up there. He gets after the quarterback. He's constantly bringing pressure. He's an identity defensively. Linebacking core, Quan Alexander, Levante David. I'm not even sure if they're still healthy at this point. Secondary, not too much out there. Offensively, they got some names over there, but they need somebody to come galvanize the team. Maybe they just need a coach who's upbeat. A coach who could go in there and, take some attention. Maybe somebody who's like a vocal head coach. Somebody like a Rex Ryan. Not Rex Ryan's coaching philosophy. No, not that. But a personality who can go and get that team fired up, because they got too much talent on the team to continually underachieve. It's ridiculous. For the Ravens, 4th consecutive season coming into week 16, 8-6, or is it the 5th? Whatever it is, I'll probably touch on it tomorrow in the pregame analysis. But there was a good win for the Ravens. I don't want to get too big into it. I'll cover it tomorrow about what my thoughts on the Ravens, the next consecutive games for them is going to be. And we'll see if it's deja vu or not. But this was a good win for them. Next, the Bills and the Lions. This was a very bad game. Sloppy. I'll say this. Although the Lions did lose, Kenny Golladay rubbed his nutsack all over Buffalo. All right, if you went to Buffalo Wild Wings, you're going to wonder why the sauces in there smell like somebody's scrotum, it's because Kenny Golladay passed right through. It was ridiculous. The man had 3 catches, just embarrassing defensive backs. The first on the left, he caught the ball falling down. The next one on the right, he freaking took the ball out of somebody's hands. I think it was Tre'Davious White, and then he found himself catching the ball inside the 5 on somebody's head. I don't know what the deal was. That man came to play. All right, I was a little bit worried about Detroit getting rid of Golden Tate. Hell, Kenny Golladay showing, hey man, I'm a number 1, number 2 receiver, whatever the case is. Marvin Jones better stay healthy, because this thing's about to look great for Stafford if they can get that run game going the way that they got a couple of good games this year. If they get a consistent run game going, Detroit can be something. But still, this team, they got a lot of work they got to get done. Matt Patricia got to get this team fixed. Sean McDermott, big win for the Bills. You see Josh Allen still using his legs to get into the end zone, and ultimately that defense took care of business, but you were playing against an abysmal offense that was without Carryon Johnson. Whatever the case was, it was an all-right game. Bills walked away with the W. Good win for Bills Mafia. I'm sure they were going through tables anyway. Next game, the Packers and the Bears battle for the NFC North. I'll say this. The Bears got it done. That defense is legit. Legit. You saw Khalil Mack go out there, return of the match, sack Aaron Rodgers with his goddamn back. And I'll say this. I said Aaron Rodgers would be able to have some sort of magic towards the end of the game. And it appeared like that was going to be the case. He led them down the field. Mason Crosby kicked the field goal, down by 1 score. He led them back down the field again. He threw the pass to Jimmy Graham. Graham could have caught it. He could have caught it. Ends up getting intercepted by Eddie Jackson. Game done. NFC title goes to NFC North title. Let me not just crown them before they get there. You don't want to have Dennis Green out here. His spirit. They are who we thought they were. Those goddamn Bears. But still, Bears took care of business. I'm still a little bit worried about Mitch Trubisky's deep ball, man. He can dink and dunk all day. That's great. He has some passes down the field this season, but on a consistent basis, I want to see him hit those intermediate throws. I want to see 20 to 25, 20 to 30 yards. I don't know if that's considered intermediate. I think intermediate is like freaking 15 to 30, whatever the case is. But I want to see him throw more balls down the field. What's working for Nagy right now is working well for Coach Nagy. It is. But you know how you got to diversify your playbook when you get into the postseason late in the season. There's certain sort of play calls that you got to have there ready. And we got the trick plays going. But I just want to see more, from a complete offense standpoint, because you've seen this Bears offense struggle against some teams where defensively they stop the run, and when you stop the run, now you got guys trying to dink and dunk, and if those linebackers aren't believing your run game, now they're staying in coverage and they're staying at home, they take away that dinking and dunking screen stuff, and then their defensive line is able to get to the quarterback. That's what I'm worried about for the Bears right now. Defensively, no concern defensively for them. Offensively, I know they can run the ball. I know they can run screens, but can they get the ball down the field to put a vertical threat? I want to see if they can do that, because Allen Robinson will win those 50-50 balls. So in these next 2 games, I want to see them try those stuff out. Try some deep balls. See if you can get some confidence and put some fear in opponents trying to guard your receivers deep, because they got some speedsters. They got guys who can jump. I just want to see a little bit more from the Bears, because they're a complete team right now, but they just need to add that little bit of spice on top of that offense that they got. But good win for the Bears. Unfortunate for the Packers, you guys go home. What else? All right, you can't win every game on the back of Aaron Rodgers. This is ridiculous. All right, get yourself a defense. Get a consistent run game, because they're running back by committee right now. What happened? Jamal Adams is out. All right, let's just throw in Jamal Williams. No, it was what was the guy's name? What was it? Aaron Jones? Oh, he can't play. Get him out of there. Get Jamal Williams in there. Oh, he can't play. Get him out of there. Get somebody else. It's ridiculous. All right. Draft some people there and get that team back to where the hell they were a couple years back, going to the NFC Championship. But nonetheless, y'all done, written down the death note. Y'all playoff hopes. Aaron Rodgers, you going to the Super Bowl? Not so much, buddy. You're in the death note. Delete it. Next game. The Bears. No, just talked about the Bears. What am I talking about? The Bengals taking on the Raiders. 30-16. Bengals won this game. Jeff Driscoll showed, hey, I can win a game in the National Football League. But then again, you were playing against the Raiders. Raiders offense, abysmal. Terrible. Absolutely atrocious. All right? Could not move the ball. Struggling. All right? You had that one touchdown from Derek Carr to, was it Lee Smith? Derek Smith? Whatever the guy's name was. Yeah, it was something Smith. All right? He was in the end zone. Outside of that, they did nothing offensively.
You had a couple of field goals here and there, but outside of that, nothing offensively. Defensively, they couldn't stop a soul. Joe Mixon was getting whatever the hell it was that he wanted on the ground. You can't win games like that, John Gruden. You can't win games. And I heard they signed Nate Peterman. I'll be talking about that a little bit later myself. But this particular game, Bengals got the W. But OHIO, the Bengals going to the playoffs? Hell no. So does it really matter? Absolutely not. Every single time I do these videos and I'm talking about Cincinnati, remember when I said in week 2, Cincinnati's going to find a way to Cincinnati themselves out of the postseason. Remember in week 6 when they were 4-1 or 5-1, whatever the case was. And I told you guys, hey, Cincinnati's going to find a way to Cincinnati themselves out of their position to possibly go and win themselves some playoff games. And what happened? Here they are, eliminated from postseason contention, even when they win a game. Ridiculous, because they needed the Steelers to lose. Did the Steelers lose? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Next, we had the Colts taking on the Cowboys. I told you guys the Cowboys were going to lose. I told you guys if Andrew Luck has a perfect game from behind the pocket where he's not getting touched by the defense, the Colts are going to dominate the game. Don't believe me? Offensive line was always a question for the Colts. I don't think it's a question anymore because they have performed this season where they had a 4-game stretch where he did not get sacked. They protect at the line of scrimmage. The Colts will dominate this game. You like how I did that, right? I just remembered that I did say that they dominate the game. It came to me while I was speaking. See, sometimes my memory happens to work. Is it like Sean McVay where I remember an exact play call from about 17 years ago? Absolutely not. It couldn't have been 17 years ago. Sean McVay's only 32 years old. If it was 17 years ago, do the math. The man was in high school. What play calls were you calling? You weren't on the sideline. But we're not talking about that right now. Now, about the damn game with the Colts. I'll say this. You could not stop Marlon Mack. Return of the Mack into the end zone. Over 100 yards on the ground. I thought the Cowboys I thought that defense was elite. They still are playing a very high, exceptional sort of game. But if you can't stop the run this late in the season, game is over. Game is over. When Andrew Luck was throwing the ball to his guys, they caught it. All right? They caught it. The Cowboys offense was just, they got rid of Zeke. When Zeke wasn't performing, Dak Prescott was afraid for his life, no time in the pocket, under duress all day. All day. I think they had 3 different turnover on down drives. No. 2 turnover on down drive. No, it might have been 3. Whatever the case was. Leonard, the linebacker, leading the league in tackles. I don't understand how he didn't get to the Pro Bowl. This man is easily going to be the rookie defensive player of the year. Sorry, Denzel Ward. Sorry, Derwin James. It's going to be this guy. He is a game breaker. The Colts got themselves a gem. I'll say this for the Cowboys, though. I would not be too concerned. You won 5 consecutive games. Teams get overconfident. They lose certain games like this. Plus, they were on the road playing against a good indie team that is indeed surging. I'll say this. Both these teams have a chance to possibly go to the postseason. Dallas, their path is much more clear than Indy's path. Indy got to pretty much win out if they want to get in. But if you're a Cowboys fan, the NFC matchups that remain, especially for the Cowboys, I wouldn't be too worried. But hell of a game from the Colts. Hell of a game from the Colts. When I was watching it back, I said, man, these guys here, when they work as a well-oiled machine, what did I tell you in the game when they played against New England? They could have easily won that game if guys had hands. Throughout the first seven games, they could have won every single game they were in and started 7-0. But it was just ineptitude. Small 1 or 2 plays cost them these games. And now you're seeing they're making those plays. They're not costing themselves games. And might I add, they're playing exceptional football. Good win for the Indianapolis Colts. Next, we had the Jags taking on the Redskins. The damn Jags lost. I thought they were going to win this game. You're playing against the entire team that's on IR. It's a replacement skins out there. It's not even Redskins. They might be the blue skins. Nobody knows who's on the field. Josh Johnson, whoever the hell it was, first start in like 7 years, goes out there and wins the game against the Jacksonville defense. Ridiculous. All right? Adrian Peterson has been virtually non-existent. I think he's on a milk carton somewhere. Where's Adrian? We haven't seen him since Alex Smith was a quarterback. You know what's going on? The Jags offense and Cody Kessler trying to move the ball, abysmal, laughable, terrible. All right? But the Redskins got the job done. And they went out there and won on the road and kept their playoff hopes alive. Yes, the Redskins are still in the hunt. I believe right now they're 7-7. All right, so they got a big chance to possibly go and maybe steal the division. Unfortunate for them, they had the tie break against the Colts. Excuse me. What am I saying? They both wear blue. Cowboys and Colts both wear blue. But they got the tie break
broken against the Cowboys. So it's gonna be kind of hard. They're gonna need the Cowboys to lose. They're gonna need the Eagles to lose if they want to get in, because they're not gonna get in as a wild card. I believe they're gonna have to try to get it. Actually, they could at the 6th seed because Minnesota's there. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But I don't see a situation where the Redskins end up getting that wild card spot. But good win for them. For the Jags, tough season, buddy. You remember when Jalen actually went in the media and said he's not concerned about anybody else's job but his own? That shows something about this team. Whatever the hell they had clicking last year, it's not happening now. That just shows when you're winning, you can pretty much push anything under the rug. It's similar to what happened with the Raiders when they had issues with Jack Del Rio, but you were winning games, so it was no problem. All of a sudden, when you started losing, now everything's coming to light. That's what's happening in Jacksonville. They are the Oakland Raiders from a couple years ago. Now, next we had the Vikings taking on the Dolphins. Necrophilia. Dolphins stood no chance. All right, they were down 21-0. It started to look as if a comeback was going to happen, and then the Vikings said, enough of that, we're playing at home. Skull! And pretty much took over the entire game. Kirk family member played a phenomenal game outside of that pick six, but he played a phenomenal game. On the ground, Latavius Murray was running. Dalvin Cook was running. Through the air, it was all right. It was all right. It was okay. Kirk family member got the ball around different places, but this Vikings team has been up and down. I need to see some consistency. Defensively, they're still, I want to say, they're not the same team as last year, but they're one of the better defenses in the league. But for Miami, tough break. Frank Gore, he got hurt. He's not going to finish the rest of the season. I hope this isn't his last season. I want to see him move past Barry Sanders and then retire as the 3rd all-time leading rusher. But it's looking doubtful. If this was your last rodeo, congratulations on a phenomenal career. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame really soon. Not first ballot, unfortunately for you, but you'll be there within the next decade. For the Dolphins, they're still in the playoff hope. They still are. They actually still have a chance at winning the division if the Patriots, lose out, which is doubtful, but we'll see. But outside of that, great win for the Vikings. They just need to stay consistent the next 2 games if they want to stay in the postseason, because they're holding that number 6 spot. Next, we had the Titans taking on the Giants. I thought the Giants could possibly win this game because the Tennessee Titans have been up and down. Lo and behold, Derrick Henry went out there and said, hey, remember the dreadlocks and the nutsack that I left on Jacksonville? I took it on the road with me. I took the nutsack out of Tennessee. I brought it to New York, went into the Meadowlands and rubbed it all over the damn place. All right, he didn't even bring it to New York. It's in New Jersey. MetLife Stadium is in New Jersey. He rubbed it all over New Jersey. All right, you wonder why Snooki looks the way that she does? Is because she takes in an inhalation of the nutsack smell of Derrick Henry. Ridiculous. All right, the man ran for how much? 170 yards, 2 touchdowns, dancing in the end zone. They out there doing the goddamn, remember the Titans dance? It's ridiculous. All right, the Giants is terrible. Eli Manning, you got no business playing quarterback in the NFL anymore. It's over for you, bro. And why 2 teams in the NFC East got zipped? What's going on here? All right, do guys know how to play football? What the hell's the deal? All right, outside of that, Tennessee played a great game. They played a great game. Odell was not playing. Saquon was pretty much, held in check for the most part. Great game for Tennessee. They're keeping pace in the AFC standings right there. They could possibly fight their way into the 6th seed as well, depending on what happens with Baltimore. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. Great win for the Titans. The Giants, you guys suck. Next game, the Seahawks and the 49ers. Remember when I told you the 49ers are going to win? Oh, you don't remember? I'm going upset alert. The 49ers going to win. I can't explain why. I just feel it overcoming me. I want to say Seattle's going to win the game. It's just not coming out. I'm rolling with the 49ers. You see how cool that was? Those are the only 2 games that I actually remember from last week. But I know for a fact, I got those 2 right. Now, I'll say this. 49ers, who the hell is Nick Mullins? Went out there, took care of business. All right, he took care of business. The Seattle Seahawks playing at home are a completely different team than the Seattle Seahawks playing on the road. However, they were surging and they were winning consecutive games, so they came in with a head of steam and they got humbled. It's a divisional opponent, so you understand some of these games, it ends up going down like that. I'll say this about Seattle, they had situations where they could have put this game away a little bit earlier, but it was missed reads here and there, some bad play calls here and there, and the 49ers stayed resilient. And in overtime, the way that hole opened up when they ran for that first down and put them in great field goal position, phenomenal. Seattle's defense, you guys can't allow that.
You're a seasoned defense. You can't allow that, especially if you try to get into the postseason. When your team needs you to get stops, you got to get stops. And what I saw on that run, it was lack of effort, guys not knowing their assignment, their alignment, and their responsibility. You can't have stuff like that happen. All right, but it was a hell of a game for the 49ers. Next, we're moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the New England Patriots. I'll say this, phenomenal game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not only because I was a Steelers fan, but because I was a football fan. The Steelers played a perfect game outside of a miss and a couple of interceptions, but they played a perfect game. I told them, run the football. Jalen Samuels went out there. This man never had 19 carries in any level of football. Never had over 100 yards on the ground in any level of football. And he had 142 yards on 19 carries. That's what happens when you know football. More importantly, the run game plan, the schemes that they had was stupendous. Some stuff I've never seen before. They had where it looked as if it was a draw. It ended up being like a counter play. They let the entire line shift towards the right. He took it and countered left. I've never seen something like that before. I was blown away at the execution offensively. Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, they were pretty much damn camera cut off. But nonetheless, like I was saying, AB and Juju Smith-Schuster were pretty much held in check. Vance McDonald held in check. Jesse James held in check. But the run game was able to win this game, even through the bad passes from Ben Roethlisberger when he threw 2 interceptions. Now, I'll say it was a hell of a play from Gilmore on the second, forcing Eli Rogers to run a bad route, then getting his hand up, reflecting the ball to where it ricocheted into the hands of Harmon. And it was his 5th interception in 6 games. Hell of a game. Now, for Tom Brady, like I always said, the blueprint to beat the New England Patriots is exactly the same every team that plays against them. Get a pass rush with just your front 4. Then eliminates every single piece around him. Now, this one sounds tough. However, when you play man coverage and you bring a rush with 4, what does that mean you have? You got 7 going against either 4 receivers, 5 receivers, or if you got 1 running back coming out. Usually if they're getting a pass rush with just 4, Belichick will keep the running back in there, probably pick grass, and then go out to the flare or something. But if you can double up and then you put hands on Gronk at the line, you put hands on Edelman at the line, you put hands on Gordon at the line, you're able to force turnovers like you saw with the Joe Hayden interception. Brady, for the most part, didn't have time all day. There was only 1 sack coming from TJ Watt, but there was pressure all day. I think there was 7 quarterback hits, 7 or 9, whatever it was, but they hit Brady a good number of times. It was a hell of a game. Tomlin coached his ass off this game. He coached his ass off. I said coming in, this game is on Tomlin because he's got to coach these guys up. Last year, he did a phenomenal job until the last drive, where Gronk had 3 receptions and a 2-point conversion catch, and then you had Dion Lewis run into the end zone. But outside of that, he coached a great game last year. This year, this was all on Tomlin and the execution of Samuels on the ground. But that was a schematic execution on the ground too, because you saw how the line worked. It was beautiful. This game, honestly, this game goes to Tomlin. Like, this was a standing ovation for him. Because he came and those guys, they knew their assignment, their alignment, their responsibility, man. Tomlin, I might just reel back because you know how I feel about him already. I don't think he's a bad coach. I believe he's an exceptional coach. But whenever we lose games, and the way the Steelers lose, we're honestly the only team in football who can win against any team and lose against any team. It's ridiculous. All right? The games that we have lost, it's been a coaching standpoint and also ineptitude of some players, elite players at that. But, this team here, with the way that he's coached that game, I feel like they can win every game if he goes out there and coaches like that. I mean, that was X's and O's. He outcoached Belichick. You're probably not going to hear people talk about it. They're going to talk about the players with Brady or are they declining or the pieces around him not performing. But honestly, this was a coaching battle and Belichick got outcoached. Remember when they lost to Tennessee? Everybody said Vrabel outcoached Belichick. It's about time we give some props here because Tomlin outcoached Belichick here, man. He did. This was a phenomenal coach game. That's all I can say. But it was a beautiful game to watch. If you're a Patriots fan, I understand how frustrating it must have been. But down the stretch, you always feel like you have a chance with Brady. Brady has pretty much underperformed for the most part of this season. It's not that great. Better than most quarterbacks. But it was not that great. I can't even say most like that. I use that term loosely. But you know, if I was a Patriots fan, you got 2 favorable games, but then again, this is the NFL any given Sunday. But for the most part, you'll probably win your division, but Belichick has never went to the Super Bowl from the wild card, so they need to hope Houston loses and they win out and possibly jump into that number 2 seed. But I did see something somewhere where they were talking about they have no chance to get the number 2 seed, and I think that's a bunch of bollocks, because if you're only 1 game out of the 2 seed, and let's just say Houston loses 2 games, it wouldn't make any sense. Is it favorable that Houston's going to lose 2 games? Is it probable? No, but it is possible. But if you're a Patriots fan, you got to hope you get some help here, because them going on the road with that abysmal defense, I'm a little concerned. But then again, it is Belichick, and you see Belichick always finds a way to clamp down, so you never know. They still got Brady. Brady is that guy. All right, but next game, we move into Sunday Night Football. The Rams taking on the Eagles. I'll say this. Nick Foles fits this offense better than Carson Wentz. And I'll say, and let me tell you why. Because when Wentz is in the game, for some apparent reason, Doug Peterson wants to go out there and lay his nutsack on the field and say, we're going to be dynamic. We're going to come out here, run all these creative plays and everything. When Foles is in the game, they're simplistic. They have some play calls, like the Philly special, some flea flickers here and there, but for the most part, they got vertical plays down the field. They got some over the middle. With Wentz, when he's in the game, it's some let's hit Zach Ertz here and there, possible some plays down the field. When Foles is in there, they run it like a regular offense. It's very bizarre. Might I add, on the ground, you got a little bit of help from Smallwood. That helped them well, exponentially in this particular game. Defensively, they did a hell of a job on Todd Gurley. They did a hell of a job on Robert Woods. Hell of a job on everybody else. You know, Goff, and I should say this. Sean McVay, these past 2 games, has coached himself to lose these games, because it's been his scheme offensively that has cost him. Let me tell you something. The Rams have gotten this mystique of this ridiculous, scary offense, not because of the hand of Jared Goff, because of the legs of Todd Gurley. Don't get away from Gurley and fall in love with the pass. Don't do that, because that's what Mike Martz did, and that's what cost him a Super Bowl. In the Super Bowl. You don't do that. The past 3 weeks, remember, coming into, week 11, week 12, Jared Goff was an MVP candidate. He's thrown 7 interceptions in 3 games. Stop having this man throw over 35 attempts. It doesn't make sense. Trust Gurley, even if you don't have no 15 yards, because you've seen in every game early in the season, Gurley, after about 5 carries, this man was already 30 yards or 40 yards or something. It was something ridiculous. Now you're seeing some 2 yards here, 3 yards here, and they're abandoning the run game. I don't understand. I don't understand. Don't move away from giving Gurley the ball. Keep feeding that man. That's what they did in the playoff game last year against Atlanta, and it cost them. Don't play football like that. Trust your running back. Keep giving him the ball. And down the stretch, when Philly did take the lead and they had themselves a 17-point lead, you saw the Rams come all the way back because they had to throw. They came all the way back, and then you had a fumble on a punt. You can't have that happen. They got the ball back, went down the field, but then Everett, did he go out of bounds? No. Gurley, did he go out of bounds? No. They cost themselves 18 seconds. 18 seconds of clock running. They could have ran at least 3 more plays. Hell, you could have possibly got 4. That shows signs of a young team. That concerns me. That concerns me, because they could have easily forced overtime. You saw Philly take their foot off the gas, and the Rams were coming back, and then their ineptitude cost them this game. You can't do that. They lost back-to-back consecutive games. Back-to-back consecutive games. Back-to-back is already consecutive. They lost consecutive games for the first time under Sean McVay. I'm concerned. If I'm a Rams fan, I'm a bit concerned. It's not, oh, we played against a very good Bears defense. We played against a Philly team that's desperate and their back is against the wall. No, it's their own ineptitude that cost them this game. Because in the game against the Bears, they shouldn't have been running some of those plays when they realized, hey, Jared Goff's not playing that well. But they kept going, oh, balls to the wall. Let's keep doing 4 interceptions. This particular game, what are you guys doing, man? You guys are coming back. Now you find yourself in a situation where you're coming back, and what do? Let's not go out of bounds.
They cost themselves that game. Hell of a game from Philly. They still got life. They showed why they are Super Bowl champions. More importantly, they got some gumption with Foles in there at quarterback. I feel like he fits the offense a little bit better. I'll break it more down tomorrow when I look at more statistics and stuff. But from a gut feeling, just watching from the tail end of their Super Bowl run last year and the games in which Foles has been in this particular year, it just seems like the offense is much more relaxed. All right, but next we're moving to the Monday night game. This game between the Saints and the Panthers. I was disappointed with Ron Rivera for this particular game because we understand Cam Newton's shoulder is hurt. A lot of people talking about, oh, he's overrated, he sucks. Don't say that. All right, Cam Newton is a very capable quarterback in the league. I think he's failed because his offensive coordinator down the stretch does not call very good plays for him. Now, granted, there are some bad decisions. This man will overthrow some people. He'll underthrow some people. The ball will be extremely inaccurate. He'll throw some wobbly balls here and there. However, this particular game, there were some bad balls coming from Newton, but you already knew the man can't throw the ball like that. You got to accommodate for that. I wanted to see much more checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey. I thought this was going to be a game where it's check down Poppy. Because remember, in the playoff game where the Saints played against the Panthers, they went down the field, but they simply could not score in the red zone. And that's what cost them. Because they would have walked into New Orleans and beat New Orleans last year. But they could not finish in the end zone. This particular game, their defense played a perfect game. A perfect game. There was a couple of fourth downs here and there, like the one where Alvin Kamara was able to convert and Thomas Davis missed the tackle. But then Tommy Lee Lewis fumbled and it went out the back of the end zone. The defense played a perfect game against a Drew Brees-led offense. The Saints defensively played a hell of a game too, but Carolina should have been able to win this game. They failed. Cam failed them, and their coaching failed them. And you're not going to play winning football like that, hence why you lost 6 consecutive games. Cam Newton heard the news today, shut down for the rest of the season. So they have some identity sort of things to figure out going into next season. But you got to ride that back. Christian McCaffrey, put the ball into his hands as many times as you can. For the Saints, past 3 games, their offense hasn't been hitting the way it's been the first 11 games. Am I concerned? Not really, because it gets late. You got to trust the run. You know, Sean Payton will be able to fix it. Their defense is still playing very good defense for the most part. You got a big time game coming up against the Steelers this Sunday. So we'll see how they tighten down. But offensively, you know, they're still able to throw the ball. There's no concern there for the most part. It seems like they're forcing the throw a little bit more. Alvin Kamara on the ground, he's getting some runs there. Ingram on the ground's getting some runs there. Just trust the run game. It's late in the year. Trust the run game. But for Carolina, it was a bad loss. But yeah, that has been my analysis of the 2018 NFL Week 15. All right, and I won myself some money on mybookie.ag. I'll break it down tomorrow, but I did. All right, see, I'm telling you guys, you go over to mybookie.ag, use the promo code Chiseled Adonis, you can win you some money, man. It's simple. It's so simple. There's no losing. If you know football, it's easy money in your bank. But I have been the host of the show, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. You guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Obviously, there's a little bit of hours left, so you can't go out there and pop, but I don't know why you would do that. It's Wednesday night. You got to wake up to go to work tomorrow. Then again, you might not be going to work. You might just live in your parents' basement. If you do, congratulations. I live in my parents' basement. Well, I don't. Yeah, I don't really go to the basement like that. What are we talking about? I'm getting the hell up out of here. See y'all tomorrow.